Okay. Pressing the wrong one. Meeting will come to order. Please stand. Salute the flag. I pledge. There were no votes taken in the executive session. We have an item on the agenda pertaining to reorganization, election of officers of the school committee. We already did this, but to formalize it, Mr. Palmieri?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that on January 3rd, we voted the school committee to elect officers. And I would just like to confirm it tonight with another vote to make sure, because there was a little confusion as to when somebody was sworn in and when the officers were elected. So I'd just like to confirm it tonight. So that's
Motion by Mr. Palmieri, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion.
if you want to do them separate, Don, we can do them separate. Okay.
A motion is in order to,
I'll make a motion to, for Anthony Marciano to be the chairman of the school committee.
motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Roll call vote. Mr. Palmieri. Mr. De Silva.
Aye.
Mrs. Picard.
Aye.
Mr. Cataldi. Mr. Andriozzi. Mr. Iannetta. Mr. Marciano votes aye. Next item.
I make a motion to have Gina Picard as the vice chairman.
Motion by Mr. Palmieri, who seconded that? Mr. Cataldi. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
I make a motion to have Steve Andriozzi as the clerk.
Motion to have Steve Andriozzi as the clerk, seconded by Mrs. Picard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Okay, thank you. Correspondence? Mr. Superintendent?
We have no correspondence this evening. We're going to move on to superintendent's report. We are delighted this evening to have Ashley Picard come up. I believe you have a citation for her for the National Poetry Competition winner. We've also asked Ashley to read her winning entry to us all this evening.
Moon, protect me through my restless sleep. Sun, brighten my heart for me to keep. Stars, guide me through life's rough times. Sky, carry the weight off my shoulders, which were once mine. Sea, dance through the waves as they crash and burn. Wind, take me away as my life turns.
Chairman Marciano and members of the school committee, we have a real treat this evening. We have the high school a cappella group and the middle school drama group here with their coordinators, Allison Kelly, Katie Bowers, and Carolyn Coughlin.
For the past few years, we have performed junior shows of Seussical the Musical and Beauty and the Beast. But this year, we are taking our first ever full-length musical, The Wizard of Oz. Our cast of over 30 students has been rehearsing since October, and we are very excited to present to you a sneak peek of our show. You'll get to hear a few of the memorable songs as Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion travel to the Emerald City to see me, the Wizard of Oz. Enjoy. Thank you. Please come see our show on March 13th, 14th, and 15th here in the North Providence High School's auditorium. Thank you all very much. And thank you to Katie and Carol who were wonderful over here. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.
I want to thank you guys for coming this evening. You did a wonderful job, and I think you impressed everyone. Again, thank you very much.
And a special thank you to Allison and Katie and Carolyn. Thank you so much for dedicating so much of your time to our students.
Okay, we're going to move on. Is it Cooper? Okay. Is there a Tara Cooper here? Okay. We have a public comment you signed up for.
I have just a few questions about the science kneecap scores. I am a parent of two students at Stephen Only School, and I have a sixth grade student at Birchwood Middle School. So I was unable to attend last month's meeting, but I know there was a discussion about the science kneecap scores. I guess some of the questions I have, and that I may not be addressed tonight, but that I would like to have a better understanding as we move forward, are a couple of things. One, when we look at the scores, specifically for 8th graders, I'm just going to focus on that one because that was the most compelling to me. And I should also preface it by saying, last year in April, I did go to the town council to advocate to make sure that there was funding for science curriculum. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart, being a biology major in college and having a degree in public health. So I'm very interested in this area of curriculum, in addition to math and reading, of course. But I think the questions I have are threefold. One, when we look at the scores, if we examine the results, how many of the students are right on the cusp of becoming proficient? And how many of the students are so close on the barely proficient that they're going to get moved over? One. Secondly, when we think about strategic planning and where we want to be, as a school committee, as a superintendent, as parents, what's our goal? Is our goal to get to the average for 11th graders, 8th graders, 4th graders, or is our goal to exceed those averages? And how do we get there? And then lastly, I guess I'm not an educator, but I'm just curious about the future of the kneecap, and for science specifically, and the investment in FOSS kits and the new standards that are going to be moving ahead. When do we implement them? And then as well, when and how do the FOSS kits and the curriculum that we have made in the investment in the last year, how does that dovetail to where we're moving forward with? So, sorry for all the questions.
So it's a long-winded question, and I know Mrs. Jakes and I would love to be able to sit down with you and go over the data, district data. We'll also love to have you meet Mr. Delfranzo, the consultant that we're working with for science from East Bay Collaborative, and we can go over our revised curricula and the purpose of the investment that the school committee and the town has made around science instruction, and answer those questions. And then perhaps at the next meeting, Ms. Jakes can come back and, you know, give a report on the results of those questions, but we would love to sit down with you and go over that with you.
That's wonderful, because I appreciate that very much. And I also, you know, noticed in the breeze, and I know this has been an ongoing effort about the Education Foundation, and how the Education Foundation may support additional resources if there are gaps still. I know my children are very excited about science, and the FOSS kits have made a huge difference in the elementary schools. I'm happy for the teachers that they have something that they can put their hands on, and it's just something that's very important to my family and to my children. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Is Mr. Placido here this evening? Okay. Yeah. Dr. DeRusi. Okay. Just want to mention a couple of. We have your capacity as the executive director of the Alumni Association. Okay. Dr. Rusi is here tonight. Mr. Placido is not here today. He's not well. If you're not familiar with him, anyone who's lived in North Providence for a while should be familiar with him. He ran the Boys and Girls Club for many, many years. He did so many things for so many people. And Mr. DeRusi is going to say a few words if you can. Just indicate what he did and what you're doing and whatever. I appreciate that. I know you do a lot for the schools, and I think people should know that.
Thank you all for having me tonight. I am currently the chairperson of the North Providence Boys and Girls Club Alumni Association. Donald Placido, along with Mr. James Kelly, who, God rest his soul, thank you, passed away a couple of weeks ago, were the first executive directors of the original Boys and Girls Club, which opened in a dime store front in Centerdale in 1967. I believe Donald took over about 8 years beyond that date and was the executive director of the Boys Club until, I think 1995 or so. So it was a very long time. Donald was also instrumental in starting a soccer league here in North Providence that was so successful. He told me other communities, surrounding communities of Lincoln, Smithfield, Warwick, Cranston used to come to Evans Field to see how he had implemented the soccer program. And we can all see how soccer has exploded across the state of Rhode Island since then. So Donald was instrumental in guiding a lot of youth through the town of North Providence and, soccer leagues throughout the state. Back in 1997, he had a brainstorm to start an alumni association of former club members. There were probably about 20 of us that volunteered to help him. Donald, if you've never met him, has this very engaging personality, and he's got a really quick, sharp wit. And we personally tortured him when we were kids, and we felt we owed him this debt of gratitude for all the grief that we had given him over the years. So through his engaging personality, he recruited us all to begin a golf tournament that started the following summer in 1998. We ran the golf tournament extremely successfully at Triggs Country Club for 10 years, raising tens of thousands of dollars. Our original goal was to add an addition, a teen center, onto the Boys Club, which was relocated onto Woonasquatucket Avenue right near Lee Romano Field a number of years ago. Unfortunately, due to the Great Recession, the Providence Boys and Girls Club, which was the parent corporation of the North Providence branch, had to close the club. So we fortunately had our money in a separate 501c3 corporation, which in hindsight, we're extremely glad we did, because now we still had control of all the money that we raised. So over the last number of years, I'm going to say 5 years, we've been sponsoring 2 scholarships here at the high school. One is in honor of Mr. James V. Kelly, and the other one is in honor of Donald Placido. They're 2 $1,000 scholarships each, and we've had a great response with that, and a lot of worthy students have benefited through the 2 scholarships. These will continue until the money runs out. Lately, we've been also helping the town out by funding the 2 food pantries, one at Stephen Only and the other at Maryville Elementary School. So we've been funding the food pantry there around Thanksgiving and Christmas for the last several years. I think we're going on 4 years now. And lastly, Mary Albanese is a teacher at Maryville. She and I have been friends for a number of years. And I said, Mary, is there anything else that we can do for the town? And we helped the 2 schools get laminating machines. She told me that a lot of kids don't have access to the beautiful media center that you have here, and that they can laminate take-home assignments. The kids can take them home. They can write on them. They can erase them and then reuse them. So we also helped to buy the 2 laminating machines for the 2 elementary schools. So as long as I'm chairperson, class of 1980, by the way, we will help in any way that we can throughout the town. The last big thing that we're doing, if you haven't been to where the Boys Club used to be, it is now run by Tri-Town Community Action Agency. It is a fabulous, fabulous building. If you haven't been there, you really should do yourself a favor and take a quick tour. The other little brainstorm that Donald and I came up with, when I became chairperson, Donald knows what it's like to go hungry. He grew up rather poor. And he said, Dave, I never want to see anybody hungry. So that's why we're funding the 2 food pantries. And I'm an optometrist in Cranston, me being in healthcare, Donald and I came up with another idea to help fund and actually begin the health clinic that is now at the Tri-Town Community Action Agency. So we are paying for the physician and the physician's assistant there for the next 5 years. So that led to when we came up with the money, we met with the director of Tri-Town, and that seed money that we came up with to pay for the physicians and the PA led to Joe DeSantis getting other grants. It was seed money that just kind of exploded, and it's really an impressive facility. So next time you're down that end of town, Joe will be happy to give you a tour. So on behalf of the Alumni Association, and especially on behalf of Donald, who is not well, we hope you keep him in his prayers. And if you happen to bump into him in town, please say thank you. And I thank you all for these certificates of appreciation.
David, thank you very this evening. We spoke on the phone, and Donald called me, by the way. He did, yeah. And we had a great conversation. And of course, I was sad talking to him because I know he's not well, and he's done so much. And I think he deserves to be recognized. And certainly, if you carrying on his work, you deserve to be recognized. And I knew you from the class of 1985. And thank you so much for your service to the community. And most people don't know what you do and what he did, but I just felt it should be recognized. Thank you again.
Next item on the agenda, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the financial reports as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Ms. Dianetta. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the home school requests as submitted.
We need a motion. Motion by Mr. Angiosi, seconded by Ms. Dianetta. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Let the record show, I think Mr. Cataldi and Mrs. Picard voted nay. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the field trip requests as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. Angiosi. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
As you know, we've been working to update some of our policies, so this evening we have several policies for first read. It's our restraint policy, special education staffing, special education for students in private parochial schools, child find, employment first policy, special education parent advisory committee, and privacy rights.
Okay, next item.
We have to vote. So.
Well, you said the first reading. I don't think we vote on the
Oh,
first
that's
reading.
right, that's first
Just
reading.
a clarification, just to make sure that when we do review, that we know that the first read was actually to today's meeting, 2-4.
Yes.
We're passing on that because we don't vote on first reading. All right, next item.
Is a deletion of old policies. So at the recommendation of the superintendent, the school committee consider and vote to delete the dated policies as submitted.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Andriosi, seconded by Ms. Picard. Discussion? All those
Yeah,
in
just a quick
favor?
question. Are these
Oh.
the ones we looked at a couple of weeks ago? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the removal of student records and office files as submitted.
So move.
Motion by Ms. Dianetta, seconded by
Second.
Mr. De Silva. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
Next item is be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the standing orders as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Ms. Dianetta. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
The next item on the agenda has to do with the proposal for a technology merger between the school department and the town. And we have Mr. Ralph Nahigian here this evening to kind of go over that plan with you, and then we can take a vote on that merger proposal.
Okay, Ralph.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We were asked by the mayor's office as well as the superintendent's office to sit down and try to come up with ideas and plans that where we could kind of combine and share resources between the school department and the town's IT and technology department. We completed a study that we thought was in the best interest of both. We found out that combining the two departments will get a better pool of resources of knowledge. People in IT, none of us have the same experience and the same ability as the next person. There's so much to do in technology, so much to work on. By combining resources, it alleviates us from having to call upon third-party companies to assist us in projects and letting us get done ourselves in-house. Saves lots of money. With one experience, for example, in a virtual server configuration, another one's an expert in SQL database. It requires both people to get one thing accomplished. So this allows that to get done in a faster amount of time too. The studies show that it'll eliminate the amount of time a vendor is needed to install and complete projects, because either we don't have on the town side or the school side, we don't have enough manpower to do it. Certain things require installations that take, it doesn't take a long period of time. It takes a lot of man hours to do. So if we can do it with 2 people, it's going to take 10 times longer to do it if we had 5 people. A lot of things we noticed is duplication of services can be eliminated or combined. Such these items as the time clock system. The school department and the town share the exact same time clock system, but they're 2 separate things that spend the same more money. So by combining those 2 systems into one system, we expect that issue alone to save thousands of dollars. Access control systems, sharing camera systems, sharing the GIS system that the town has with the school department for transportation of students, the safety of students. Inventory control systems. The town is currently in the process of purchasing one. The school department wants one. Now the school doesn't have to spend $10,000 to buy one, because we can merge it with the same, it'll work together on the same system. It allows us to combine town and school technology equipment, such as the camera servers. You have camera servers in every single school. We have one camera server that serves multiple buildings. We can add that stuff to the town's equipment, eliminating service charges, reoccurring fees for licensing and stuff like that. Phone systems, for example, to share the phone systems, which will alleviate a lot of money. And it may eliminate some service contracts, because we'll have in-house people that can actually do the work. The big thing it does too is it allows for a standardization of installing equipment. So that way, if something needs to be shared between the town or the school department, or if the school department has some type of a crisis during and when I mean a crisis, some type of an incident regarding in the middle of a school testing that's done online, or if the town has some type of an incident with its public safety system, if the school department and the town combine their resources and standardize the way they install equipment, the way they purchase equipment, if we all purchase the same equipment, if it can form the same function for each department, we can share those resources. We can have a stockpile of a switch or a camera or a piece of access control equipment that if an access control device here in the school department breaks, it doesn't take us 2 days to get a part. We can take it from somewhere that we have in the town, because it's the same. It allows the ability for tech work on more than one task at the same time. So where this helps is if you have a technician, if we have a technician, one of our IT technicians in the town is in the data center working on a project. If he's uploading databases or transferring files, that takes time. He can be doing other projects at the exact same time. So if 5 broken laptops that need to be repaired, those laptops can be sitting in the data center while that technician is doing that. while the school technician might have his hands tied up in Birchwood School working on something where at that time he can't do anything. Or if there's a printer broken in the administrative office, or if there's, if the school tech is working on something in the high school. So it allows certain projects, they can do more than one thing at one time. So it allows us to save money there. One of the big things we notice, it was clear based on information while compiling this report that the school department is in dire need of an educator to teach the technology that you currently have and the technology that the students and teachers will have and will be required to have in the future by the State Board of Education. They need something to teach the teachers and the students, and the problem with that is on a tech side, for the technology side, we can't talk by the nature of our business and who we are, the type of people we are. We're not at the level to be able to educate. We're too high of a description level to speak to or teach a student or a teacher. If they're having a problem understanding, we're talking way over their head most of the time. Secondly, if they're having a problem understanding, we don't know how to correct that problem. We don't know how to say, okay, this student is not understanding how to use this computer. And an educator is designed, they're trained to understand, okay, if the student or teacher cannot understand this, we have to teach, switch the way we teach. And that's why it's very important that it requires someone with educational experience. It also, the time of the technicians that perform these functions of helping students or teachers is time not spent on items that need to be handled by the technology people, meaning the infrastructure. So this technology person, educator, will teach the students how to use the printers, how to troubleshoot an overhead projector so that they're not pulling the IT technology staff away from what they're doing to simply say, you needed to push this button. Okay, they need the person to teach that. Also, this person, like I said, it lessens the burden on the IT department. We felt when we looked into that, a lot of stuff too, data entry and stuff like that, that's done on the computer systems in the school department is just not warranted. Their education level is too high and need to focus on much greater things than data entry. All right. The support of the town, as well as the school administration, they both support the plan that I submitted because the benefits will have work on productivity and the ability to save money on calling the outside world for help. I was not asked to make a merger work. I was asked by the administration of the school department and the mayor's office to see if a merger would work. The mayor asked me not to focus on saving money. He said, focus on, when you do this study, focus on what productivity it will do for the town and the school. It wasn't until after the study started coming into play that we realized that, boy, we're not only going to be able to create this better productivity, but we'll not only be able to save money in one area, but in many areas of the IT department. And I think that both administrations saw the report in detail, shows where it's going to save the money. Any questions or?
Any questions, Mrs. Picard?
I can make a motion for the discussion purpose, if that's okay. I'd like to make a motion to accept the merger as presented.
Okay, motion by Ms. Picard, seconded by
I think Mr. Palmer.
Donald. Okay, the
Everybody.
entire committee. Okay, go ahead.
So as one of the co-chairs of the technology committee, I want to thank everybody that was a part of this work, because I just want to emphasize something you said regarding the budget. This is not to just save money. It happened to work out that it would save money, but it honestly will provide us with a more efficient way for operations, infrastructure, and networking pieces, while also taking into account a stronger emphasis on the need for a curriculum and technology integration component, which now that we have all of the technology in-house, let's say, we need them to be able to use it effectively, use it productively. And that curricular connection is just the key that we all felt is still missing and needs to we had to rethink, right? You put things out there and you're rethinking it. So I'm very pleased with the plan. I'm very excited about the merger because I do think that it will definitely strengthen our productivity.
Oh, thank you very much.
Chairman Marciano, may I make a comment?
Sure.
Lisa Jakes and I have been meeting with Ralph Nahijian and his team of at the IT department on the town side, and I can tell you that the efficiencies and the resources that we're going to open up for our school department is going to be phenomenal. And I agree with Mrs. Picard. The biggest focus is around that integration of technology into our curricula. And I have full confidence that this merger will certainly afford us to do that.
Thank you very much. It sounds like a win-win. Thank you very much, Ralph.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item. We have request to address the committee. Mr. De Silva. What do we want to do?
Well, maybe I should go up there. All right, so I put this on there. It's a response to a email we all received about not being outraged. So tonight I'm going to share some outrages, hopefully, and predicated by the fact that these aren't just coming off, off the top of my head. I've been a school teacher for 35 years. This is my 35th year, and I have a couple of master's degrees, even though we don't put them on the letterhead. That's my choice. So it's not. I'm not speaking. Well, I don't think I'm speaking off the top of my head, but someone might disagree with that. Do I have to keep my finger on this thing? So, young lady who has 3 children in our schools, God bless you. And that's a hard thing to do. I had one kid went to school, and that was enough. But in answer to your kneecap, that's my first outrage is kneecap. And so there's a little history behind kneecap. And you're right about the numbers on the cusp, partially proficient. But what's the real number? Okay. And you asked about the goal. I don't believe there is a goal because RIDE doesn't want us to have a goal. This isn't about goals that children meet. This is about a bait and switch. And I talked about that last meeting. Kneecap was a response to No Child Left Behind. And it was originally put in October. So we could get an indication of where our kids are, get the results, craft instruction, look for weaknesses, and apply it like constructed responses or something like that. But then all of a sudden, it morphed. And we didn't get data until March. But the test was still in October. So instead of being an indicator, it became an indictment. And the indictments were, let's put the test scores in the newspaper. Let's blame the teachers. Of course, the only ones taking them are the public schools. No one else has to take these tests. And that sets the stage for what follows. School classification based on kneecap, only for public schools was the beginning of it. So we go from indictment to, for an indicator to an indictment. Now, in defense of science, having taught in an elementary school for 35 years, science tends to be the stepchild of elementary schools because most elementary school teachers are not equipped with kits, the knowledge, the desire, or quite frankly, it's a lot easier to teach vocabulary words in an anthology and do some math. And that was the focus of kneecap for a long time. Now that's gone away. The new one comes in. So my first outrage has to do with this whole piece of kneecap. And you get teachers' reputations, schools' reputations, teacher certifications, and all that is being judged, in my case, on the motivation of 10-year-olds. So that's my first outrage. My second outrage is per pupil expenditure. And as we know, the per pupil expenditure is simply, I have a prop. It's a division algorithm. Algorithm last night was the answer to Final Jeopardy. No one got it, but I did. So it's an algorithm. And the divisor is the total number of kids in your school system. The dividend is the total number of money. Well, let's think about the total number of money. Out of district busing. We bus kids to Bayview. That's part of our total pupil expenditure. If I'm teaching fourth graders in Maryville, part of my per pupil expenditure is the basketball team at the high school, oil, heat, gas, electricity. Every penny we spend through state mandates and federal mandates are part of per pupil expenditure. And so that is the quotient. So why is that my outrage? Because it's not a fair number of what we spend on students. Because right now in Cranston, I have 28 children in an inclusion classroom, 7 of whom are special educated children. They're in my classroom, and I have an aide in the morning, and maybe I'll call him wonderful special educator in the afternoon. He comes to my classroom, and we work with these children. What if one leaves tomorrow? They still pay me. They still pay the aide. They still pay the lights. They still have the textbooks. There's no savings. We're not going to save the per pupil expenditure. The per pupil expenditure is a false number. But why is the per pupil expenditure important? Let's say, for the sake of argument, 200 kids moved into North Providence tomorrow. All the kids who are in private schools and parochial schools and wherever, they all move in. Well, we're going to save in the dividend because we're not going to bus them. How much do we spend on busing out of school? 1 million? Out of school, out of district busing. $500,000? Close to $1 million. Over $1 million for Bayview and Mount St. Charles and vocational. Oh, we're coming to my third outrage. That's the next one. So that comes out of the dividend, right? The divisor goes up. Guess what happens to the quotient? It goes down. So we have more kids, but we're not going to spend more money on more kids because they're all going into one place. Would it tax some places? Sure. I mean, are all 200 kids going to show up at the door of Maryville? No. They'll go here, they'll go there, they'll go all over the school system. Our per pupil expenditure will go down. Our dividend will go down. Our divisor will go up. Go figure. But that's what the algorithm does. So that's my second outrage. My second outrage having to do with per pupil expenditure is that's what the charter schools want. That's what the mayoral academies want. They want us to give them our per pupil expenditure when they take kids from our schools, keep them for a while, and then kick them back. So that's my second outrage. We have fixed costs, and those are reflected in our per pupil expenditure. No, they're reflected in our budget. They're not reflected in a per pupil expenditure. Some kids just flat out cost more money to educate. Kids with physical needs, kids with handicaps. Not all kids are like that. Right now, I don't know if Representative O'Grady has contacted you, but I know that there is a House Commission to study Rhode Island's fair funding formula. And the Cumberland School Department recently looked at the 286 kids the Mayoral Academy pulls out of Cumberland. And so the superintendent of Cumberland looked at each child individually, determining where they lived and what specific elementary or middle school they would be added back into. He then adjusted class sizes. He added teachers where they were needed or paid class size overages. He added transportation routes. He looked at the whole piece. And he found that if he were to take the 286 kids back into Cumberland, he'd need $400,000 in his budget. But he's currently spending 1.6 to keep him in the other school. That's not a fair funding formula. That's outrageous. So that's my second outrage of the night, how we have the per pupil expenditure affecting our budget. In the school year, North Providence, current school year, we have, 63 children in out of district, not charters, out of district placement. To what extent are the 14 charter schools that draw from North Providence obligated to pay any of those expenses? It's not a rhetorical question. The answer is they're not. So again, it's not a fair playing field. My third outrage. It's attached to my second. My third outrage of the night is the fair funding formula. Before there was a fair funding formula, which Deborah Gist fought so hard for. You just read Tim Duffy's statements. He's not here tonight. Too bad. You just read those statements about how hard she fought for it. I'll tell you why she fought for it. Because it had to do with money and paying off friends. Consultants, achievement first, mayoral academies. The money that came to us from Race to the Top, how much did it come into your classroom? Didn't come into my classroom. But I saw a whole bunch of people buzzing around, writing this thing up, writing that thing up, and then came the evaluation. So the evaluation is based on student performance. So again, student performance on a test, and I'm measured after 35 years on the motivation of 10-year-olds. If it sounds frustrating to you, think how it sounds to them. We have the Providence Journal constantly calling our schools mediocre and failures. The compliments of Ed Acorn. Look into his past business practices, however, before he became the editorial chief. It's not about educating inner city youths. The fair funding formula is a per pupil expenditure grab. And it's a way to make friends of the soon former commissioner, let's just say that their pockets get fatter and the school departments don't. My fourth outrage of the night. Ever since the arrival of Commissioner Gist, when we can blame Governor Donald Kacheri for that in 2009 when she came here, public education has been under attack. She has repeatedly called our schools, our teachers, and our students, she's called us failures. The chirping of crickets. She told the ACI inmates, blame your school teachers, that's why you're here. She has incessantly promoted charter schools, giving them everything they need to be successful and making sure they are supported. And she recognized them while neglecting the needs of district schools, particularly urban and urban rings like ours. Her approach to teacher evaluation is punitive. No surprise there, because she takes her marching orders from Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan. If you remember Ronald Reagan, I didn't like him as a president, but he wanted to dismantle the Department of Education. So I agree with him. The one in Washington, they should have. In Rhode Island, we have seen blatant, calculated attacks against teaching professionals like that man, like this man, under the guise of education reform. We're witnessing the big corporate influence, anti-union, pro-privatization, under the guise of the fair funding formula. This Arnie Duncan, Koch brothers, Walmart, Harris's approach has brought negativity and denigration of public education with only one goal in mind, and it's not to educate the underprivileged. Next on the agenda was to convince the public, with the help of the Providence Journal, that our public schools are marginal at best and that it's the teacher's fault. And you may be sitting on a school committee saying, I'm not a school teacher. But you're on a school committee of a public education district. That's, the guns are aimed at us as well. When her friend Arnie Duncan awarded her Race to the Top money, the die was cast. Where did that money go? Not to school districts, not to classrooms. The money went to consultants, friends of the commissioner, friends of the Board of Regents. The last one. And if you remember, we all fought. I was not on the school committee. I came here and told you it was going to be a big hole in a budget. Is it a hole in our budget? It's a hole in our budget. And the school committee at that time voted to send a resolution downtown. The council at that time voted to send the resolution downtown. And what happened under the George Carullo, whatever they were, a Board of Regents, it passed. He was the deciding vote. The fix was in. Because of Race to the Top, and here's the part that affects our budget, we were forced to adopt the Common Core standards and the PARC test that accompanies it. PARC is a federal and state unfunded mandate, forcing school districts to invest millions in technology. He just told you that. Say nothing of the sustained cost for software, maintenance, and technology personnel. We have nothing to show for Race for the Top other than unwieldy, manipulative teacher evaluations, wealthy consultants, and millions of dollars in PARC bills for years to come. Who runs PARC? It's a company. It's not run by the state. It's Pearson. The PARC is a play, but, and Rhode Island, as part of the Race to the Top, had to lift the charter school moratorium. The PARC is a play by big business to create increased demand for charters that do little more than practice the students to take standardized tests. Our schools will always look bad in comparison to that. Hence, when we look bad, more school choice at an unsustainable formula that I showed you as part of the per pupil expenditure as I outlined tonight. Worst of all, our democratic form of government is a party to this as well. Government and business in bed on a scam to make money. Rhode Island school districts and municipalities are about to absorb bills in the near future that will ultimately outweigh the $75 million the federal government granted us. We really have very little to show for race to the top money except for the commissioner's propaganda and mounting sets of bills for the unforeseeable future. So that's kind of my fourth outrage. No, that is my fourth outrage. Gone are the plays, the classroom celebrations, the reenactments, integrated units, cultural projects, reading of trade books, letter writing, all of that's gone. The very thing students remember from their educational days, all swept away. Now we prepare to get ready for assessments. We practice for assessments. We administer assessments. We analyze data from assessments. And then we try to differentiate, the greatest buzzword of all time, and focus on teaching to improve student learning. No, we don't do that. We focus on teaching to improve test scores, the assessments. There is the constant collection of formative assessments, entrance slips, exit slips, quick write, quick draw, turn and talk, checklists, and so on. And don't forget the SLOs and the PGGs and STAR testing and reading and math and teaching to the missed benchmarks. Sound frustrating? How do you think the kids feel? The POC testing results will not be shared with the districts until, I believe, 2017. The pilot test from last year was never shared with anyone. District leaders, school committees, and parents should be outraged that this collection of data has not been shared and will not be shared. The lack of a timely report is outrageous. Several states are dropping out of the participation in the POC tests or delaying implementation, but not here in Rhode Island. The POC will be fully implemented this spring. Commissioner Gist has informed districts that they're to be purchasing the required technology to support the test. Having done the practice test, and I'm going to put that on the agenda for next, I'll bring one in and we'll do it. It's unwieldy. You teach kids to read on paper. Focus, 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 focus. Then you give them a computer where it's got, 4 words per line. And so everything you've ever taught about focusing on how to read text changes. So those are my 4 outrages. Thank you to the person who emailed me. You woke up a sleeping giant.
Mrs. Picard, you have a comment?
I do. Although riveting, Rod, not all of your information was exactly accurate, and I want to make sure that I clarify some points. Feel free to disagree, but I know that with Race to the Top came a lot of innuendo, and what I see oftentimes is that social media takes things like the Common Core Park and makes them seem like gigantic things, and we sort of provide excuses. So just a couple of things. Number one, we mentioned this, Rod mentioned the science kneecap scores, and then he mentioned school classifications. Science kneecap scores are not part of school classifications. They never have been, and they will not be. But just, that's a clarification, because when you had mentioned that, just make sure people understood that it was not part of your school classification. Kneecap is due to end in 2017 for science. So kneecap ended for reading and math, but it doesn't end in science till 2017. As you all know, we moved into the next generation science standards, and our North Providence curriculum is being revised. Give or take whether you like the commissioner or not, and I'm not debating that issue, whether you like Race to the Top or not, and I'm not debating that issue. I think we need to stay focused on what happened in North Providence with the funds. Now, I was not happy with the way the funds were initially used. However, when Melinda Smith came in, I was very happy to see that she used remaining funds that she had to finally get a curriculum for our district. You would not have a curriculum in North Providence, Rhode Island, if it was not for Race to the Top. So that was one good thing. With anything, there are pros and cons to anything we get, and we all know that. But I want to make sure that we set the record fair and equitable, that it's not all bad or all good, but just this is what it is. The other thing you also have is several mini grants. You're currently doing a closed reading mini grant that is allowing many of our teachers to dig really deep into how to plan for students around close reading skills and strategies. So those are some of the things. And I'm not going to go through the list of things that we did in North Providence, but if you need to know how we spend our monies, we could get that to anyone who's interested. The other thing is teachers get bashed all the time. Educators get bashed all the time. And it isn't fair, because it's probably one of the hardest jobs ever, because you're dealing with different children every single day with different needs, and they change every year. right? You have one set of kids, you get used to them, and you learn how to instruct them well, and then they leave, and then you get a new set of kids. So it's constantly changing. But what frustrates me is that when we have commended schools, and we have one right here, we're all sitting in the commended high school, and blue ribbon schools, and we all have one in this district, Stephen Only School, we want to sit here and we want to say, we are excellent. We're doing a great job. Our teachers are working really hard, and good for us. And we should give ourselves a pat on the back because we deserve it. But in the same token, with the same set of standards, when it doesn't go our way, we want to say, it's those tests, it's those parents, it's whatever. And I'm not going to debate that, what it is either. What I'm saying is you can't have it both ways. You can accept the congratulations and then accept the excuses. Let's face it, the science scores were disgusting. It was disgusting. And no one up here believes that those are the scores we want our kids to have. As a teacher as well, as an educator who gave that assessment, honestly, we were not instructing in the elementary schools really well enough as a state to be able for students to have minimal understanding. I was able, because I'm an educator, to give my kids what they needed. But if they had science instruction in North Providence twice a week, maybe. Most of my kids, I have 3 kids in the system currently. 2 of them barely did science instruction in elementary school. Why? Because our teachers weren't afforded the professional development opportunities to really understand. Typically, your elementary teachers are literacy people. So you needed to provide them with the support. It's not their fault. But Race the Top monies provided us access to professional development opportunities and consultants. Now, if Mr. De Silva had issues with his own district that he works in, that's a different place. But our teachers, many of them that I've spoken to, have really liked the professional development opportunities they received, especially around science. So that's a good thing. In the end, I'm a believer in you can't be stale. You have to currently move and improve all the time. We are in a place, we're in education. No one in this room is going to go to a doctor that was doing their surgeries the way they did it 30 years ago, because your recovery time is going to be 6 months. You're going to look for somebody who stays fresh. You're going to look for somebody who's a lifelong learner, and I'm not using it as a pun. Because if I wanted to learn something that I don't know, I Google, I read, I download, I talk with colleagues, I get into conversations, and I invest and I research. That's what we do in this field. We're not going to stay stale. But again, I'm not going to debate Park. But Mr. Silva brought up the Common Core state standards. We have always had standards in Rhode Island. It's just that you didn't know what they were because nobody publicized it. You had new standards reference exam, but nobody told every single parent. Parents just trusted the educators to do what was best for kids. It became more public. Why? Social media, Facebook, Twitter. It became a national epidemic. People said, oh, Alaska doesn't use Common Core. Texas doesn't use Common Core. They absolutely do. You know what they do? They call it the Texas Learning Standards. They just remove the name. I work specifically with people from Alaska and Texas that are using the Common Core state standards, but don't call it that. Because of what? Because of the political outcry, because we made it a political issue. The Common Core, honestly, if you have any, I'd love to know what people don't like about it. For me, it makes it easier as an educator to know what to do because there's only 3 major changes in English language arts and 3 major changes in math. And instead of reading a 400-page document, I can read a document. Math is 1 page for 8th grade, 1 page for 7th grade. So it actually makes a life, it does what our teachers have been begging for. More depth, less breadth. Because it's a little bit of everything the way it used to be. Now we get to spend more time making sure our kindergartners can count 1 through 10 and add 1 through 10 before you have 1 through 20. Makes more sense. Park, another story. I don't believe that any child's success should be focused on one test. It's a barometer. The purpose of the assessments, and Rod is right, they're not given in private schools. They're not given in Catholic schools. So you have no idea how to compare our school to those schools. It's apples versus oranges. But my son is leaving Birchwood Middle School next year, and he's coming to the high school because I have absolute faith in the educators in this district that they are working so very hard to be able to give our kids the instruction they need to get what they need to be college and career ready. I believe all our teachers, K through 12, are the best they've ever been. When I first became a school committee person 6 years ago, we were okay. We had great people who were well-intentioned but didn't have the resources or the professional development to continue to move their profession forward. They are thirsty for it, they are moving forward, and I think our district is headed in the right direction.
Thank you very much, Gina. I can see we have a lot of passion on this committee.
No passion, Mr. Chairman, simply facts. I stand by everything I said.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay. The person who's going to be addressing us is Ruth Bucci concerning natural grass versus artificial turf. Ruth?
I have a copy for each one. Yes, I did. Okay. All right. My name, Chairman Marciano and members of the school committee. My name is Ruth Bucci. I live at 50 Intervale Avenue, North Providence. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My topic is artificial turf. Since there's a current discussion about considering whether to keep the natural grass or install artificial turf on the football field at the high school, I wanted to provide research about health concerns and maintenance costs associated with artificial turf. My research shows that keeping natural grass on our fields is a safe approach to protect the health of our students, our residents, and our financial interests, and promote North Providence as a great place to live. I have provided each of you a packet with a one-page list of my concerns at the front, a research paper with footnotes that I completed, and one article that I photocopied. I hope that you will take the time to review my research and the article. Tonight, I would just like to go through the first page, the one-page list of information, which comes from the research. At the top of the list are the health problems associated with artificial turf. Each of these is documented and footnoted in the research that I've provided to you. The first, number one, is possible links to cancer of the soccer goalies, and those soccer goalies having lymphoma and leukemia more than any other type of cancer. The reports indicate that the soccer players had crumb rubber dots, which were from the fields, the ground up rubber tires, in their nose, mouth, ears, cuts and scrapes. And that was the focus of the report that I had seen on TV and which is enclosed in your packet. One doctor said that children under 10 should not be exposed to crumb rubber because of their young age and their sensitivity. Another doctor said that there's really a lack of studies which would show the effects of artificial turf on children. Number 5 on the list talks about the cancer-causing chemicals contained in artificial turf: arsenic, benzene, cadmium, and nickel. And then there are many others as well, some causing cancer, some causing irritation, some destruction of mucous membranes. In one field, lead was found, and when the people found out about it, they had that surface removed. The EPA conducted a research in 2008, which was only a scoping study. It was just to practice methods to determine what methods the EPA should use in order to determine if the fields are safe or not. They only tested 4 different fields or 4 different areas, and they concluded that more research needed to be done, that you cannot translate what they found on those 4 surfaces to any other surfaces, and that don't take this information and use it for all fields because they would all be different. Okay, recently, because of the reports of the harm that artificial turf has been doing to kids, California, a senator from the state of California presented a bill in the state Senate in California, December 17th, 2014, and he wants more study and a moratorium on any installation of crumb rubber fields. The industry spokespeople for the turf people, Synthetic Turf Council, rebuts the criticism and promotes its product. I have gone on their website, and the information really isn't too specific or too current. I saw one current study, it's in the research, where they went to, there was a school up in Montreal, a college, and that synthetic turf was sent over to Paris to be tested. And in Paris, they said, oh, it complies with European standards for toys. I didn't find too much information that made me feel confident in synthetic turf for its safety. Some fields, number 11 on the list, some schools have not chosen to use crumb rubber. They've instead gone to Nike Grind, which is ground up sneakers. And there's another company called EnviroFill, and they don't use crumb rubber, but I haven't been able to find any information that talks or that shows that those products are safe either. As far as concussions, I had read one study where it said more concussions occur on artificial turf because the kids can go faster. Then I saw another where it said concussions occur on the grass fields as well. So the concussions are still on each surface. As far as the number 13, high temperatures on artificial turf fields, I've read extremely high temperatures on those turf fields, 10 to 15 degrees or even more than that, higher than natural grass. Dehydration, heat stroke, thermal burns, a definite problem. Other injuries, number 14, turf toe, lower extremity injuries, ACL ruptures, quite a bit of information on ACL ruptures on artificial turf because of the way the foot isn't able to move too well. The strain on the joints and the bones and infection. Okay, then moving down to the maintenance costs. The installation reported in the Breeze for the football field was estimated to be $1.2 to $1.5 million for the upper field, the football field. But there would be additional costs to renovate and repair. And from what I saw, which I mean, I haven't seen any actual contract or any specifics for our town. This is just research. Warranties were for 8 to 10 years. And after that, you'd have to dispose of the materials, replace them, and cut off quite a bit of it to the landfill for additional costs. Then for number 3 to 7 on the list talks about particular studies that I was able to find that compared the cost of maintenance of grass fields and artificial turf fields. Number 3, native practice field, $6,000 a year to maintain a sand-capped football stadium, which is a different type of grass field, $13,000 plus a year to maintain it. Then number 4, a synthetic field with the 3-year-old surface, $22,000, over $22,000 a year to maintain it. Then number 5, a turf field costs between $13,000 and $39,000 a year to maintain it, whereas that was the artificial turf, whereas the natural turf was between $8,000 and $48,000 a year to maintain it. So the figures really are kind of all over the place, but they are substantial figures for maintenance. There was a study one of the authors did of 16-year comparing natural soil and sandcap grass fields to and also synthetic fields and premium synthetic fields, and the natural soil field was 33,000 plus or 49,000, whereas the synthetic was 65,000 plus or 109,000 plus to maintain it per year. So the figures were extremely high. Okay, number 8. What type of, number 8 through 12, what type of maintenance would have to be done? You would have to remove any foreign debris. You'd have to fill in any low infill levels. You'd have to fix any open seams and fix any deteriorating grass fiber. You'd have to be concerned about drainage. You have to, number 9, apply fungicides and antibacterial treatments. You have to have a schedule for maintenance, weekly or daily brushing, repair. If it snows and you want to use the field, you have to plow it with a special type of plow to protect that surface. Number 12, again, remove any waste from any dogs or what other animals could get on the field. Number 13, I went up to Johnston. I looked at their artificial turf field and was all, of course, all blocked off and fenced in, and I couldn't really get on it. But it did have a sign posted, live video police surveillance 24 hours a day, so it's definitely has to be protected. And then I saw quite a few reports of vandalism across the country on artificial turf. Sections cut out, spray painting, fireworks, a problem if anyone tried to put fireworks on them, or burning of the artificial turf. And then failure rate and definition of failure rate. It appears one author said that the artificial turf industry is not forthcoming with that sort of information. It's not, in other words, not transparent to let you know how long the field will last. And the last section here on rejecting artificial turf. I'm not the only person that is objecting to the problems associated with artificial turf, whether it be health concerns or maintenance costs or other concerns. Westerly voters just rejected it. They had the vote. They turned it down. I read a report that New York no longer installs it. Another city is rejecting it because it's too many risks across the country. Bond issues that would support it are being defeated. In some cases, some people are still approving it. And some people don't like natural grass, don't like artificial turf because they think natural grass is important to keep in a city or in an urban ring, as we're known. And in conclusion, natural grass surface, I believe, is the safest choice. I think the research backs that up. It's costly, but I think, of course, we have to do, the town and the leaders of our town would need more research on specific health costs, problems and costs, and maybe other factors you would want to consider in your evaluation of the proper surface for our fields. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You point out some very, very interesting areas that good education on this. I think Mr. Palmieri has a comment, and then Mr. De Silva.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I agree with you 100%. I personally don't like artificial turf. I never did. You just have to watch football games and just look at the injuries that these.
Thank you.
I mean, these players can't even go through half a season. Half the teams are gone, and it's going. I mean, every stadium seems to be putting it in, and I mean, there's a high risk of cancer that's like rampant right now in the country. I'm not blaming artificial turf, but something's not right.
It's another factor. Thank you.
It's a factor, and I mean, you just can't beat natural grass. So I would never be supportive of artificial turf.
Thank you.
So here's your next research project. We don't have natural grass.
What do we have?
Mud.
Well, it's natural.
Natural dirt. After 2 football games, 3 soccer games, practicing, too bad what's his name is in here, Glenn Williams. Our baseball field gets ruined because they practice there.
Yeah. I understand the issues of maintenance and so on.
We can't grow grass long enough to, and I'm not saying the artificial turf is the answer.
Thank you.
But we don't have I think the reason people want to put it there is because you come to football games and after the third game and they're playing in dirt, and in the winter when it's hard and they're getting the end of fall, I should say. So those are the concerns. So if you could do a research project on how to get the grass to grow, that would be awesome.
Well, you know, that's, yeah, cost and maintenance factors, I think on that too.
Wait a minute, Ruth. Mrs. Butch, another question. Ms.
Actually, it's
Picard.
not a question, it's
Oh.
just a comment. I know, and I with Mr. Palmieri, I don't know what the right answer is at this point, because I know another concern that parents have brought to me is it's the geese poop, right? It's the health concerns around that, which is what we currently are dealing with. The geese. So they're all over. I've been sent videos and pictures. So I think we've got to figure out what to do. I don't know the right answer right now, but I think at least helps us get the conversation started.
I will say a little bit on the geese. I left that out. I did do additional research on that. And wherever the geese are able to get through a fence, they will walk across and leave their evidence. Okay. And so unless you're willing to fence off every possible area, there will be geese. And I have read that, you know, border collies, I have read about different products that they have, different chemical services out of state as well. And I do have additional research on that. I didn't include it because I think I had my two main points were the health and of artificial, you know, health problems associated with artificial turf. That was my main concern. And then the cost that it's very costly.
Oh, we know that. I want to thank you very much for coming this evening. You did a great job as usual. Thank you. Okay, yeah.
Next item B. We don't have any bids this evening, so be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the resignations as submitted.
Motion by Ms. Picard, seconded by, who seconded? Mr. Andriozzi. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the retirements as submitted.
Motion by Ms. Picard, I think Ms. Diana seconded. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the leave of absences as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Andriozzi, seconded by Ms. Picard. Discussion, all those in opposed, ayes have it, so voted.
This evening, we have appointments. We're appointing Emmanuel Ramos, secondary English teacher at North Providence High School, Jillian Ruggiero to a .5 special education integrated pre-K teacher, Teresa Torti, integrated pre-K teacher at Greystone Elementary School, and Michael Torto, assistant football coach at North Providence High School.
Need a motion? Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. De Silva. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the rescissions as submitted.
Motion by Ms. Picard, seconded by Ms. Dianetta. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted.
The next item, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the one-year designation of clerk and counsel as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Picard. Who seconded that? Ms. Dianetta. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. I think we should mention the firm in the council. I know Andrew's been taking care of us, but I think the entire firm has to be mentioned. So could someone do that? Brennan?
What's the firm's name?
Brennan.
Brennan, Recupero, Cascione, Scungio, McAllister, and others.
Okay, let the record show that, okay? Next, announcement of committee appointments. I'll be taking care of that later on in the meeting. Old business.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the grading policy as submitted, third reading.
So moved?
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by, I don't know who seconded it.
Guy's been teaching
Rod De
school.
Silva? Okay.
Just a
Discussion?
note to change that
Quick
date as
question.
well. to the February 4th, the third read to change in 128.
Quick question. We do trimesters K through 5?
Now, yes.
That's awesome.
We're pleased with it.
Discussion?
I mean, I read it and I didn't notice that I didn't, absorb it, but I think it's a wise idea to do trimesters K through 5.
Thank you. Any other comment?
No, that's
Okay,
it.
thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item, please.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the health and wellness policy as submitted, and this is also the third reading.
Motion by Mrs.
Second.
Picard, seconded by Mr. De Silva. Anyone else second? Entire committee. All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
And I would like to draw your attention to use of property this evening. So we have a couple of things on the agenda. The Rhode Island Writing Project. Our teachers, in North Providence have been invested in this initiative for many years. The annual spring conference is going to be hosted here at North Providence High School. We have 12 of our teachers actually presenting at that conference. And I would like the committee to waive the property charge and the custodial fee for that particular event.
Absolutely.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. De Silva. And Mr. Iannetta. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
So I have further discussion.
And the next item is around the high school baseball fields. And Mr. De Silva, I know that you are closely associated with the different ball organizations that use our fields. I just wanted to bring to your attention that on this agenda, the North Providence Smithfield Babe Ruth have asked to use the fields from April to October. And we also had approved in November that Michael Walker would use the fields at that same time. I'm just bringing it up. I didn't know if that was an issue.
No, historically, what's happened is the leagues work together, and if you want, I can facilitate a meeting, but the leagues work together and they go through their schedule and they decide who can play when. And I know you have one from North Providence East wants to use the baseball field once, one game per week also for the 50-70 league. So if you want to just get all those boys in one, it's never been an issue. I mean, Mike Walker's been part of that league forever, and Bobby Douglas down there in North Providence East League does a good job. They're all gentlemen. So I know Lou Zamorelli put in for the baseball. He's not the president anymore. It's Bobby. Well, Donald, you know the kid's name. I can't think of him. Who's that? New president of. No, Ken's gone. He lives on Campbell. Can't think of his name. I hope he's not watching. Be embarrassed.
Okay.
Bobby Clayton. Duh. I see him at the hockey games all the time, too. So those three, they're gentlemen. Shouldn't be a problem to get them in a meeting and let them work it out.
Perfect.
And I also have a correction to make, and I think Bob Douglas called Mrs. Falone at the tryouts for both gyms, and it's 9 to 3. I believe she's already aware of that, and I think she cleared it with Glenn, Mr. Williams. And I don't know if anybody's put in for the Birchwood, but if we haven't, we will next month.
Okay. All right, thank you.
If you need me to facilitate a meeting, just call me. I will. For the baseball field.
The only problem is if it hasn't been a problem, and they work it out, that's fine. We just don't particularly know who's using
Usually
it.
in the correspondence, you can tell each one of them that they have to. It's not pecking order. They have to meet and get together. And if there's any issues, call me and I'll facilitate a meeting. It's been forever. These guys always work together.
Right.
But
Okay.
they're all gentlemen.
Okay.
And we also have the fast pitch to determine whether or not we're going to charge for use of property on the.
No charge.
Mrs.
Great.
Picard, no charge. Seconded by the entire committee.
And
Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I would also give her permission to hang her banner.
All right, thank you very much. Any more?
And the next item is, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the list of bills as submitted.
Moved by Mrs. Picard, seconded by the entire committee. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted.
We don't have any fundraisers this evening.
Okay, next item, I'm just going to be passing out the committee appointments, subcommittee appointments for just for 1 year, okay, and that'll be it on that. And so you're going to be getting this in a second. And, okay, go ahead.
Prior to Mrs. Picard asking for approval of minutes, could we just look at that last section of the agenda where it says pending business? Can I make a request to remove those since we are addressing all of those things and they appear on the agenda every month?
Why not? Save a little space.
Yes, the pending business.
I'm sorry. I put one of them on there back in the day. It was summer school.
Okay, why don't we make a motion to just to take those off pending business?
And I had buildings and grounds
I'll make a
on there.
motion to remove all those.
I had few
Okay,
maintenance and fields
Mrs.
and grounds.
Picard
Take 'em
makes a
off.
motion to remove the pending business,
By the way, I had
seconded
those on
by
there.
Ms. Dianetta.
Last-
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, ayes have so voted.
Clarification,
Certainly.
For the use of property requests, Superintendent Smith, the North Providence, the George Hagan tournament, I believe Frank Kaiser already requested the other gyms,
The high school.
the high school and. I
No,
wanna-
they usually use here, Birchwood and
Right,
Ritchie.
but I believe he had to add, just to make sure, that they were just adding the Ritchie gym for Friday, March 6th, that they already requested the March 7th and 8th dates.
Which one is that?
That's the North Providence
Hagan
Basketball
tournament.
Association George Hagan
Yeah,
tournament.
and I don't think they do Sundays anymore, it's just Friday, Saturday.
Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
I know, they did Sunday.
Well, no, they added Ritchie, but we want to make sure they've already put in for,
I thought they've already requested the other dates.
I asked her about that.
All right. Okay. Well said. Before we do the approval of minutes, the school committee is going to convene an executive session to discuss a personnel matter. And if there's any vote taken, we will report it out after the executive session. So we're not going to adjourn right now. We're going to reconvene an executive session. Gina, want to do the minutes?
Yes. I make a motion to approve the minutes for the December 17th, 2014.
Motion by Ms. Picard.
General session.
Seconded by Mr. De Silva. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Next.
I'd also like to make a motion to seal the executive session minutes on December 17th.
Motion by Mrs. Picard and seconded by Mr. De Silva to seal the minutes. And all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. Okay, we are now going
Motion to move into executive session.
we are now going to move into executive session, and any votes that we take will be reported out if, in fact, we do personnel matter only. Thank you.